Democrats in shambles again because Kamala Harris is one of the most historically unpopular vice presidents in modern American history. And now I need liberals, and I even need progressives to explain to me why they believe they are so right, but they're on the opposite side of the American people. And I say progressives as well because we're talking about Kamala Harris now, but AOC approval rating is worse than Kamala Harris. Like, do AOC fans know that? Do Ryan Grimm know that?
That's pretty terrible.
Like, do people who support AOC know that? So if you love AOC, why don't you even look at these numbers and question yourself? Like, what's going on here? I think it may be that AOC and these people follow Democrat woke culture war bullshit while voting for war and voting for the party, not challenging their party, right? But anyway, the point being, it's a general liberal culture that has taken L's. Kamala Harris, they has as their vice president, and there was leaks a few weeks ago where the Biden administration, there was leaks where they was worried about Kamala Harris. They worry about Kamala Harris because she's one of the most unpopular politicians, one of the most unpopular vice presidents in modern history, and that's despite having Mike Pence and Dick Cheney as vice president, Joe Biden as vice president. She found a way to pass them all. She did it. So how do liberals cope with this, CJ? We gotta watch it. This segment is hilarious, filled with liberal cope that we're gonna dismantle here.
Now, last hour we reported on new developments surrounding the Florida Board of Education approving new guidelines for teaching Black history, which suggests that enslaved people reaped benefits from skills acquired during centuries of forced labor. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris visited Florida. She went to Jacksonville on Friday and slammed the new curriculum, calling it extremist propaganda. Joining us now, co-founder and CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader, who's taking a closer look at the role that Vice President Harris.
So this member of the K-Hive,
wealthy
white woman. Remember the K-Hive when they were trying to gaslight us and thinking that Kamala Harris had an organic following of Black women. No, literally it was filled with white women pretending to be Black online. That's literally what K-Hive was. Why do I say that? Because this lady right here is the captain of K-Hive here. Like, she's as big as a Kamala stan as it gets. So let's listen to it. She is so hilarious to me.
Is playing in the administration as well as the re-election campaign. And Lauren, your new opinion piece for The Hill is titled this: Kamala Harris is far from the worst vice president. Why do polls say otherwise? In it, you write,
pure cope. Here you go.
This.
Why
is Harris really doing
otherwise?
Such a terrible job, so out of touch with the American people, that she deserves this historic disapproval? Or, as the first female vice president of color, is she on the receiving end of well-documented and deeply ingrained bias? Vice President Harris is not perfect.
Kamala Harris is a victim now, guys. Kamala Harris is a victim. I'll let it continue. Get it worse.
And she has sometimes been her own worst enemy, struggling to keep good staff and appearing stiff and scripted at public appearances. But it's hard to square the outsized negative attention she receives with any rational critique, and impossible not to see parallels to the only other woman ever to come so close to our nation's highest office, Hillary Clinton.
Can you find anybody worse than Kamala? Yes, we have Hillary too. Let's add her in here.
Jeez, not only is she a K-Hive sycophant, she's still with her. So she's saying that the reason why Americans don't like Kamala Harris, the cop, and Hillary Clinton, the war criminal, is because we're secretly sexist, CJ. We got to work on that. Apparently, we're deeply problematic here at RBN because we got this sexist, rabid hatred of these war criminals, Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton. But trust me, guys, it gets worse. This segment gets worse. So let's continue.
Oh my God.
The parallels are hard to miss. Impossible expectations and double standards for women, sometimes called the double bind, have dogged the vice president from the start. Women in positions of power, especially Black women, face ingrained bias at every turn.
Oh my God.
They are routinely labeled as unlikable, angry, aggressive, and more likely to be subject to online hate. If Harris can turn around her polls, and she must, She not only helps the Biden ticket and her own political future, but paves the way for the generation of women leaders who will follow her. For their sake, let's hope she succeeds. So, Lauren.
This is why I fucking hate liberals. I hate liberalism. I hate their culture. Because I want you guys to understand why I'm about to go so hard at this, fam. You guys understand it does more harm to our cause? You guys realize this does more harm for the pursuit of racial justice and racial equality. Having these privileged shit libs redirect our struggle and making it about the ruling class. Kamala Harris, the war criminal, the cop who destroyed our community, is the victim now, CJ. Oh my God. Look, you guys see why a lot of Americans roll their eyes at this shit? Do you guys think they roll their eyes at this shit because the fact that RBN spit, when we talk about the material reality of Black Americans, the fact that we 40% of the homeless population, despite being 13% of the population, I've seen right-wingers say that's fucked up, right? There are people who don't like socialism who follow me. There are people all over the political spectrum who follow me, who see me spit that truth, and they say that's fucked up. But they see this identity politics bullshit, this shit is this wokeism. That's really what it is. And it harms the real message of the systemic problem. Remember, what did the poll say that we reported on a long time ago? When you ask Black Americans, especially young Black people, we care about material reality. We don't give a fuck that Karen down the street is racist. Me personally, I don't give a shit. I don't care if you like me. I honestly I literally don't give a shit if you like me. I've been like that since day one. You're a white person, you mad I'm here? Die mad, motherfucker. I don't care. I just don't want the system, because the system is a larger problem. I don't want the system coming down on us. That's why polls say we not focused on virtual signaling shit. We focus on material reality. You want to know who people who not focus on that, according to polls? Every other racial group. You got white Karens, you got Asians, you got Latinos. They all care more about virtue signaling, Black History Month, Kente cloth and shit. They care more about the virtue signaling shit than actually being for Black issues, right? So this is what the Karen here, trying to redirect what it really means to stand for Black issues. And our community needs to stand up to this. The left needs to stand up to this, because people like this, and you guys are going to see why I mean as this segment continue, hurts our cause. It makes the cause for social justice and racial equality look like a joke, because these people are. So are we going to let them hijack it? That's my question I keep asking. People are like, you so mean to Kyle. Are we gonna let people hijack what it means to be on the left? Are we going to let white liberals and Democratic Party hijack what it means to fight for Black liberation? They care about Kamala Harris being treated right as they build in Cop City. And people are going to let that happen. That's why we're doing this segment. But anyway, let's continue, because you guys can see it becomes a joke later. But go ahead, CJ, if you want to chime in.
Let me chime in here, because just now that I'm looking at it, look at the screen here. Do we think any of these people, any of these white people, and you can include the Black guy too, you think they care about any sort of racial equality for Black people? You think they care Black people are going to be getting treated better? But think about how the ruling class does this all the time, where they co-op struggle. They co-op, as if, the struggle that a poor working class Black, half Indian woman is the same struggle that this person is going through. And it's kind of echoes through the affirmative action ruling, where we were kind of like, well, this affirmative action ruling is for people like in Harvard. This is like for upper, I have never been, affected by this. It's the same sort of thing. It's like it gives them something to argue and to be able to co-op revolutionary language for their boutique struggle. So you can go ahead with the clip.
You have no idea how on point that is, especially as this video continues. Just for a second time, I'm gonna let it play for quite some bit, because there's a part I definitely want to get to, because this is pure liberal delusion here.
Thank you for that piece. And let's speak about this moment where we see the vice president front and center in Florida over the weekend, talking about this curriculum, but also she has been this administration's leading voice on abortion rights.
She has, and I think that's really where she's at her best. And you saw her, I think this weekend, or excuse me, Friday's talk about, taking it right to Florida and confronting DeSantis in his own backyard over the, just absolutely outrageous manipulation and rewriting of history, I think was some of her finest public speaking. And I think she's going to need to do more of this. When I spoke to folks on her team, they're very conscious that we're in the early days of the campaign. They haven't fully ramped up getting her out on the road in campaign mode, but I think they need to. And what winds up happening, and Allie, I'm so glad Allie's on this segment with us because she knows this as well as anyone. What winds up happening so often for women candidates, outside the vice presidency, but really around the country, is that they are subject to more negative attacks, more disinformation, more sort of manipulative bias.
Women candidates are more prone to misinformation. What does that mean? So, and they say they're more prone to attack. Ma'am and sir, who has been attacked more than RFK, Donald Trump, and Bernie Sanders the last few years? This shit where they making these women imperialists, these feminist capitalists, sympathetic characters, is bullshit. Meanwhile, let it continue.
The attacks that come at them. And really the only way to address it is to fight back. And to date, she's really not been able to do that or hasn't done that. I think appearances like what she did Friday are her effort to carve that out. But it's been tough. I mean, she was essentially asked to take on a role that's only ever been defined by white men and to somehow redefine it and be successful. And it's new territory and it's extremely complicated for her.
Lauren, I am also glad to be having this conversation with you because you and I have been texting about this since you put your piece out, of course, over the course of my writing my book and talking.
They were texting about this, guys. They girl pals. They were texting about the struggle of Kamala Harris. Texting about how Hillary Clinton is mistreated by the media. Are they tweeting about the 40% of Black people who are the homeless people that we have in our community? We have 40% of the homeless population, despite being 13% of the population. She's not tweeting about the Black women that's poor and struggling. She's tweeting about Kamala Harris. She's like, you tweeted about Kamala Harris. Did you get your Black Panther starter kit yet? After you tweeted about Kamala Harris. That's what they're talking about, guys. That's what they're talking about. That's how you get it. Oh my God, people are so unfair to Kamala. Oh my God. Anyway, listen, it gets even funnier, believe it or not.
Talking about my book, the double edge that you talk about with Kamala Harris, I think is not surprising for a lot of us to see that she has some of the lowest disapproval of any vice president in history, simply because of all of the double binds that you present. But I wonder if you can talk about how her team is looking at this moment where the campaign season may actually unshackle her to do more of what we saw that worked for her in 2019 when she herself was running, attacking and being the prosecutor. Do they see this as an opening for her to sort of turn things around?
Now you about to hear some of the most delusional commentary I ever heard in the last year or so. Let's listen to this delusional bullshit here.
I think they do. And, my point in the piece is that that's exactly the right strategy. That, it's very tempting to say when you see a candidate like her, vice presidential candidate in this ticket with low approval ratings, it's very easy to say, okay, we should sideline her in the campaign process. I think that's completely wrong because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Biden administration needs to get her out there. She is a strong surrogate. And
what?
Bro, she wants Biden to lose by a landslide, son. She's telling the Biden administration, she's like, y'all know American people don't like Kamala Harris. Don't listen to that bullshit. You need to send her out there because she's a strong Black woman.
How is it a self-fulfilling prophecy if the prophecy is not a prophecy once you've already established we don't like you? There's no need for a prophecy anymore. We don't like you, so it's not self-fulfilling. It's we don't like you, so now you're responding to that, and it's kind of like I'm gonna shove. This is what they've been trying to do with Kamala Harris the entire time, and they're retelling history. She dropped out of the race before California because she knew she was gonna lose California. She was gonna come in like fourth. She knew that, so stop acting like people ever liked this particular person. And I think the only reason she even won and became what did she become, a senator, Over here is because we have, I think, what is that? I think that is ranked choice voting. Our senator, how we elect our senator, is ranked choice. So it's the top 2, no matter what party affiliation. And that's how she got it. She just got it because it was, the top 2. And it was Feinstein. So go ahead.
Yeah, we're almost done. Let's quickly wrap this segment up. I want to play a little bit more of this hilarity here. This is her calling for Kamala Harris to be more involved in the Biden campaign, because we all know she's just a thrilling, inspiring public speaker.
We should sideline her in the campaign process. I think that's completely wrong because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Biden administration needs to get her out there. She is a strong surrogate, and the only way that you turn around those numbers is actually by putting her out there to do that. There was a piece in the Wall Street Journal also this weekend about sort of the response of Democratic donors to her, and it's clearly mixed. There are some that are, to your point in the last segment, a lot of hand-wringing and sort of anxiety about whether or not she's a liability. But the folks who really know her and have brought her out have found her to be an extraordinarily effective surrogate. So the point is you can't, it's different for a woman than it would be for a male vice president. She has to be given the chance to turn it around. And the only way to do that is to lean into her as a surrogate on the issues that she's most comfortable with, on the issues where she's passionate, to your point, Ali, where she can be unshackled, where you can let Kamala be Kamala. And I think that's going to be critical. And just again, I can't say this enough, it's different. She's the first. And there has to be a sort of new playbook, if you will, a new way forward so that she can turn this around and really fight back against what is pretty profound bias in the entire system.
Lauren, this is Susan Page. You liken Kamala Harris's experience to Hillary Clinton's, and you see some parallels. So talk about lessons learned from Hillary Clinton's experience in that campaign. What did she do that Kamala Harris ought to do? What did she
this is about to be Comedy Central
that Kamala Harris ought to do now?
Right. Well, I'm so glad you asked that, Susan, because John Palmieri was here last week and we had this whole conversation about it. Look, I think the famous moment in the debates where Trump is lurking over Hillary, and she said later that she wished she had turned around and told him to back off. And the campaign at the time felt that that would have been a mistake as they discussed it afterwards. I think that's wrong. She needed to have done that. And I think the point is that.
So according to this K-Hive still with her sycophant, the reason that Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump is because Donald Trump was standing too close to her in the debate. Fam,
you can't make
this
this
is Comedy
up.
Central. This is Comedy Central. Donald Trump dismantled Hillary Clinton in those debates. Right? Dismantled. I remember the viral moment when Hillary Clinton said, "We should never allow a man like Donald Trump to be in charge of government." And Donald Trump said, "Because you'll be in jail." Now, we know he's a liar because that didn't happen. But that was a fucking devastating moment. Also, people didn't like Hillary Clinton because she was a war criminal. Not because of this secret sexist bullshit, right? Almost done here.
Look, the whole system was different then too. Look, Hillary ran pre-Me Too. It was a different media landscape. She had a lot more to contend with. But the fact remains that when women allow the narrative to take over and they don't directly fight back, that narrative wins. And we know this from lots of research and from other campaigns. It's essential that women fight the disinformation and the negative attacks head on. And that's something that I think Hillary could have done more of. But, ultimately, you can't blame her. It was a system that she was operating in. Every candidate has to learn their lessons in their own time. I hope Kamala learns hers in time for this 24 election.
You can't blame Hillary Clinton. It was the system that crushed her, CJ. Hillary Clinton, the victim, crushed by our system. One of the most powerful people in the world. One of the most influential millionaire white women. She was crushed by the system, according to Big Brain.
So unbelievable. So unbelievable.
I want to show just what the black person say, and we can wrap up this segment here, because they're gonna bring the token. Of course, they're not so tone deaf that they would do this whole segment with just a white woman, right? So of course they bring the token in. They bring. I gotta be careful what I say. I almost about to get demonetized. But they bring the House Negro, to say they bring him in, right? So let's listen to what they
and CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader. Thank you so much. And Eugene, you cover the vice president. So real quick here. I know there's been real frustrations from the West Wing about the vice president's.
Look, surely they brought this brother who has his posts on the streets, right? Surely a relatable brother, right?
Performance to this point on some issues, but they do think that she's found her voice on a few things, particularly when President Biden himself has acknowledged he's not the most comfortable messenger on issues like abortion.
Exactly. That is a place where they feel like she, one, is just well suited, not just because she's a woman, but because she was a prosecutor. She's worked on these issues for years. So that's one. But they also feel like, and since that Africa trip, I went with.
Because she was a prosecutor, sir? Because she was a prosecutor? You bringing up the negative of Kamala Harris. He said the voters trust her because she was a prosecutor. What? Nigga, we don't like her because she was a prosecutor, sir.
Right.
And I'll wrap his last. I'll give him his last.
With her to Ghana, and she came out after walking around that slave castle and had no notes. And it had been a long time since I've seen Kamala Harris without any notes or reading from a script, and she was completely unscripted. We've seen that over and over and over again. We have seen her this weekend on Friday when she was there in Florida, who only had a couple notes, did not read from a teleprompter. She did that at Howard when she did this abortion event the day that they announced that they were going to do the re-election. So her new team has kind of gotten her much more comfortable.
She can talk. She can string together some sentences, Nick, without some notes. Nick, we do that every day. Let's give her kudos. She can string together a couple of sentences without notes, and that is the threshold now for Kamala Harris. It's truly it's sad to me. It's getting to the level of like Joe Biden's dementia. Like this is now getting to be abusive because it's so terrible. She's so terrible. So keeping her in is like, this is terrible, man. But go ahead.
So this is the person, and we've seen many of these. So I'll show you guys some recent ones. Who's the victim of the system in racist, sexist RBN? Of course, she's being criticized unfairly, right?
And I think that there are those who are unable to see what can be. But there are many more who are able to see what can be unburdened by what has been.
Very profound. Deeply moving shit right there. How dare the sexist, racist American people deny her? Let's see some more profound quotes from Kamala Harris.
And I think the first part of this issue that should be articulated is AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine that will then determine, and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions.
What are you talking about, CJ? She's clearly the victim of a racist system that led people to be prejudiced against the first female black president, vice president. She's the victim, guys. Anyway, that segment went a little bit longer than I wanted to go, but that was funny. But anyway, I'll pass you.
I got one thing to add here. Just because you brought up the Trump thing, I'm not gonna play it with the sound, but you talking about this scene that he came around.
Oh, yeah, that's the scene that was spirited. Liberals believe that was the worst thing that ever happened to women ever at any time in history. They were like, the sexist Donald Trump with his hyper-aggressions, microaggressions. However the fuck they talk.
All right,
but
so that was it.
According to the deeply serious analysis from that K-Hive still with her sycophant, that is what lost Hillary Clinton the election. Not the fact that she's a unhinged war criminal, deeply corrupt with the Hillary Clinton Foundation, deeply corporatist ties to Wall Street, was responsible for increasing childhood poverty with Bill Clinton. None of those reasons, right? Because she's a victim of sexism, right? And the reason why I cover this is because I'm offended as a black man. And if you're a black feminist organizer, if you care about Black liberation struggle, you should be going after these people with just as much teeth that you guys go after the right. Because you want to know who make our issues look like a joke? These clowns. So people roll their eyes when people talk about racial justice, right? Because they think of these fucking woke, fake liberals who don't mean it because they feel bad for a prosecutor, someone who locked our people up. They feel bad for Barack Obama, someone who tanked our Black wealth. They are unfairly treated. So they make our issues look like a joke. And that's why a lot of people roll their eyes, whether they are right or wrong. So how about we take the fight to them and we make it clear where we stand? That's why I got people all over the political spectrum that follow me, because they surprised when they see it. They're like, I thought all these Black activists was woke libs. They see RBN, we blow their mind.
Yeah.
The woke libs are overrepresented.